G'day everybody and welcome to episode 4 on the season 3 of the River Styx server. As you can see behind me, we built a huge sugarcane, watermelon and pumpkin farm. So the way this farm works is that if you look back there, you'll see an observer just right there behind the sugarcane. And what happens here is that when that sugarcane there attempts to grow, it doesn't actually have to grow. So see there, it didn't grow at all, but when it attempts to grow, it basically powers a block behind it. I'll show you the redstone shortly. But it basically powers a block, which then fires off the entire 2 sections there. So that's 1 section to there, and that's 1 section to there. So it's 2 full sections. With the pumpkins and watermelons, you've got watermelons on the right, pumpkins on the left. The pumpkin stem is being watched by the observer. When that observer detects the pumpkin stem changing, and that usually happens by basically when the pumpkin grows, it'll bend over to the left or the right, depending which way it grows. And then it will fire off the pistons on either side of it only. So super lag efficient. It means that it's not going to cause heaps of lag on the server and things like that. So if you want to sort of see the redstone behind it, it's pretty much, if we take away one of these blocks here, you can see we've got the back of the observer right there, and then redstone dust on either side. So when the observer detects something, it powers this block, which powers those 2 dusts and powers the pistons in front, pushing off the pumpkin or the watermelon into an item so that we can collect it. So if we look at the pistons on the back here of the sugarcane farm here, it's a relatively simple design. So the one that's got the redstone dust here that I'm pointing at, that block is getting powered by the observer. So that's behind the observer, which then goes into 2 repeaters or set to 2 ticks, so that way the pistons don't shoot out the block, and then they just extend and come back. This little torch tower here is quite simply an on-off switch. So if you pay attention to where the slime blocks are now, if I turn this on, you'll see they get pushed forward and they just get held out there. What this basically means is that none of the sugarcane can grow now because it's all being blocked off by the slime block. So if we look at it from here, you can actually see it's all flush with the edges of it. And then to turn it back on, we just flick the lever again and away we go. So it's a very simple design. Now if you wanted to build this one in Bedrock Edition, you actually just don't need these repeaters at all. You can build it this way, but if you get rid of the repeaters, it'll actually produce slightly more, and it's actually super simple to build. So you can build this in Bedrock or Java if you want to build it in your world. I highly recommend building it because you get an absolute ton of sugarcane, plus you get heaps of melons and pumpkins, which are fantastic for trading with villagers. Now, you may notice that they're all in shulker boxes. If you haven't already watched it, in between episodes, I did a live stream with Spited Watermelon, where we did a bit of an end raid. You can find that on my YouTube channel. It wasn't listed as an actual episode. It's just like a bit of an extra one for you in between episodes. So make sure you check that out. There was a lot of fun, a lot of giggles all the way along. Now, I mentioned villager trading, and something that I haven't really shown on camera, something Spited and Watermelon and myself have both been working on, is villagers. So inside the house right now, it's still not decorated. I haven't gotten around to it yet. And the reason I haven't come in here to decorate is because it is just full to the brim with villagers. There's villagers here, villagers there, villagers on the other side. We even got an iron golem that looks after the upstairs. And it's just been a temporary home, but this has just been a way for us to get some enchantments on our gear. Because as you can see, I've got plenty of good enchantments on all my stuff, and villagers are the easiest way to get that. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go meet up with Spited Watermelon and build a villager trading hall. Now the villager trading hall is going to be inside of a hospital. As I mentioned before, this entire area that we live in here is going to become a big giant city. A city filled with skyscrapers and all sorts of other buildings. Every time I build a farm like this one here, it's going to get a nice pretty building around it. The iron farm, I know that one's not done yet, but it is going to be coming. I'm going to be expanding that all the way out to roughly there. There's going to be a second iron farm next to it, so that way we get extra iron. And then there's the house. So that farmhouse, the idea here is that it's the old farmhouse that was built many years ago, and the owner of the house was just too stubborn to sell. So this entire giant city has built around him, and it's going to be showing the original farming and the future of farming. And this whole area is just going to be filled with farms and skyscrapers and all sorts of things like that. And one of those things that every city needs is a hospital. So the villager trading hall is going to be situated inside of a hospital, somewhere around here. So we do need to level a bit of this out. But before we go do that, let's come to the project board and see what we've done. So I can knock off the sugarcane farm, I can get rid of the melon farm, Naked Dragonfly is done, and we've done the end raid on the live stream with Spited Watermelon. So today we're going to be doing the villager trading hall, so we're going to have to start getting all the resources together for that, and then after that we'll meet up with Spited Watermelon. Now, you may notice that these chests have now been swapped out for shulker boxes. So now that I have the shulker boxes, it's just easier to fill all the boxes up with the things I need, all the resources, and then once it's all done, I can just go, alright, there's my shulker boxes, walk in, and off I go with all the resources in there. Obviously these are empty at the moment, but that's kind of the idea behind it later on. It just helps me to speed things up a little bit. So before we start getting all the resources for the hospital, let's have a quick 1 hour mining session while we wait for Spidered Watermelon to come online. Let me know in the comments how many diamonds you think I'll have and how much coal you think I have, because I keep running out of both of those. So last time we did these 3 tunnels, and this time we'll get these 3 tunnels down on this side. So let's get started. Diamonds! More diamonds! Diamonds again already? Oh, today is my lucky day. I am getting so many diamonds. I hope your guesses are high. My luck. Ooh. My luck has not run out. This is absolutely fantastic. Oh my god. And again. Wow. Again already. They're doing so well. They're not especially big veins. Most of them are only like 3s or 4s or 5s. But there was one that was 8 before. It was quite nice. Once these are all added up together, it's going to be quite a bit of diamonds, I think. I spy with my little eyes something beginning with diamonds! Diamonds again! Woohoo! Once again, more diamonds. And a skeleton spawner. Wow, today is definitely my lucky day. So how did you go? Let's have a look. Alright, so we got a little bit of coal in this one, and in the other chest, we have a lot of diamonds. That's 111 diamonds. We did really well there, plus plenty of redstone. I'm really happy with how this went. So let's take all this down to the basement and start getting ready for this hospital. One of the things we're going to need in the hospital to cure the patients is splash potions of weakness. So I've removed the chicken farm because I don't need it anymore because we now have golden carrots. So because of that, what we're going to do is I've removed this and I'm going to put a quick auto brewer in here. The design I'm using is an Impulse design, Impulse SV. I'll put the link down in the description for that. And it's super simple to build. In fact, the only things you need is everything in this chest. And we're going to basically build it so it'll automatically brew a bunch of splash potions of weakness. And it's such a great design because it automatically starts up every time you need it. So I'll have a double chest down the bottom here, and that double chest will always be filled with potions. So if I take out 20 potions, it'll automatically brew up another 20 for me. It is absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to get doing that now, and I'll see you in a moment. Alright, all done. So this is the brewer now. I've set it up with fire resistance potions, but all I need to do is swap all these different ingredients out, and I'll get something completely different. As you can see, it automatically turns them into fire resistance and to 8-minute potions. And then once this double chest here is filled, it'll actually switch off. Now, Impulse's design, if you do decide to use it, make sure you read the pinned comment. There's a little fix here with the timings here. There's just a small difference with the redstone. Now over here, I've added a little bit extra, so just a slight improvement to his design. So instead of me putting water bottles into this chest here, I've got a little system here that automatically fills it up. So once it finishes off a set of potions, and that hopper that I'm looking at right there is missing 1. As soon as that's got 1 in it, it shuts off. But if it doesn't, this will just keep filling them up as quickly as it can. So if you give it a second, and there you go. So you see there, it just quickly shot off some water bottles. And if we come down here, we can see in this chest here, which is pointing into the water bottle chest, you can see that there's a few water bottles. Now that doesn't have to be filled. As long as there's 1 in there, it won't fire off. So the way that I've done that, if you want to do it yourself, is you just have a hopper pointing into this chest here, and then a comparator reading that, going into a piston. It'll depower that sticky piston, which will bring down the observer, triggering a quick clock here. This dispenser, every slot needs to be filled up with water bottles, so ideally you want to have full stacks. And then this hopper and dropper, so there's a hopper there that just points into the dropper, and then this chest just fills up that one. So it's pretty simple design. Then you just need to put water bottles in here, as you can see on the thing, which you can reach from down here. And that just continues going forever and ever. And then once this chest here is filled, the whole system shuts off and you don't have to worry about a thing. And then the only thing you have to worry about is stocking up the water bottles and keeping these things stocked. And if I want to change it out, all I need to do, so behind these for item frames are the droppers. So I just need to swap them out, and it's simply put, this is the first ingredient you want to go in, this is the second ingredient, this is the third ingredient, and always leave the nether wart as last, because that will basically always have a nether wart sitting in here, and that's what shuts off the system. So yeah, simple. Alright, now I'm going to set this up for Splash Potion of Weakness. Because you don't have to start with an awkward potion for Splash Potion of Weakness, what we can do is we'll take away the nether wart and we'll put the fermented spider eyes up there instead, and that will then run the whole system. But the weakness potion is the only one you would do that with. Alright, so I've done all the brewing, and as you can see, we have shulkers and shulkers and shulkers of Splash Potion of Weakness. And over here we got all the other stuff. Now, as you can see, there's quite a lot of shulker boxes here. So let's gather all these up and let's head over and start building this hospital. I'm going to jump straight into a time lapse and I'll see you when it's done. Oh my goodness, I literally have just logged on. This is the next day now in real life, and I've just logged on, and as you know, I was just getting this time lapse done, and Billy Bob Turkey and Spited Watermelon have been through here, and they have completely flattened this whole area, because as you may have noticed that I basically just carved out, or we just basically carved out what we needed to start with, and we were going to clear out the rest of this. We still got to get rid of this hill at some point, but they've come through while, literally in one day while I wasn't on, and they have cleaned out this entire area and flattened it out, which is fantastic, because basically what's going to happen is this is going to be the hospital, or the trading hall if you will. That'll be the road there coming through, and we just needed to sort of flatten it off a little bit because it was a little bit too high and a little bit too much of a change. So as I mentioned earlier, this whole area is going to get transformed, so that was just sort of a starter. So yeah, let's get back into the time lapse. Alright, so we finished the interior. This is just the interior. Everything you're seeing here is the outside of the interior. This is all the functional side of things. We still have to do all the redstone underneath, but basically what we have up the top here, we have a minecart that fills up all the splash potion of weaknesses and takes them all the way around and drops them into all the droppers. Now we are going to have, this here is a little hallway that'll come out, and then this is going to take a little turn and go down that way, and the other one over that side is going to do the same thing. They're going to meet somewhere in the middle, and then this is just going to be like a nice little courtyard for all the hospital patients to hang around in. Not that they can, but you know, it looks nice. Over here we have all the inside of the trading hall. So we'll have different villages, so these will be the villages with different books and so on and so forth. There'll be a lever here that will drop them down so that when they're down to this level, there'll be a zombie back here and he'll basically hurt them. And then there's a dispenser there, as you can see, and if I press this button here, it'll dispense a splash potion of weakness, as you may have just seen, and that will basically make them weak, feed them golden apple ourselves, and then we get nice discounts. So I've sort of gone, all this stone will also be covered in carpet later on, so don't stress about that. And then we're just going like, this is a hallway. Hospitals always have this nice, horrible, boring sort of wallpaper, like it's really cheesy, so I thought that looked really good in here. I'm going to have 3 separate wings. This first wing here is going to be pretty much mostly all librarians. We'll have a couple of like weaponsmiths, things like that down the bottom there. This is just like where we'll get all of our stuff for armor and tools. Over here, we're going to have this whole side here will be stonemasons, and this whole side will be clerics. So over here we'll get all the different types of stone and all the different quartz we want, and over here we'll get all the cleric stuff. So there's redstone, lapis, end pearls, all sorts of stuff. Down here, this is where we're going to be making all our emeralds. You can see we've already got a couple of villages in here, and basically, yeah, we'll pretty much just click on them and we'll start trading. We haven't done anything like that yet. This whole side is going to be farmers. So just behind the hospital, we've got the sugarcane, pumpkin, and watermelon farm. So we're going to trade all of that with these villagers on this side. And over this side, we're going to have more villages that we can get emeralds from. So these are going to be ways that we can get really easy emeralds. And then on this side over here is where we spend most of our emeralds. And then this is all going to be to do with weapons and armor. So it's all nicely set out. So now all we need to do is move all the patients in. We've got a little breeding cell here. We had a few villagers that didn't behave. And we also had a few more villagers that didn't behave. But all in all, we're getting there. So this is a little village breeder up here. So you got 2 villagers on this side over here. We give them some bread, and then they basically make babies. And then those babies want to come over to the beds, and because of these trapdoors here, they think they can make it across, and they just fall into this little puddle down the bottom. When they're down here, they just gather in this area here, and once they grow up, their heads are tall enough to hit that water, and then they flow down this way as adults. So that way we only end up with adults down this side over here. So it's actually a really good little design. So this is all coming along really nicely. So we've got a lot of work still to do here. We've got to move all the villagers in. We've got to build an entire exterior. We've got to do some nice gardens for the patients. And then, of course, we've got to connect it all up to the road system. And, of course, underneath it, there's going to be a whole lot of redstone. You can see some of the redstone over behind my head back there with the yellow wall. And there's going to be some over here. We just started some of the redstone. And then, of course, we've got to get some zombies so that we can get the discounts. So a whole lot of work to do, but I think we're going to have to get to that into the next episode. So if you like what you saw today, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you really liked it and you want to see more of this. Until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.